That's no moon. It's a space station.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. A few things before we get started this evening. For one, we have Aaron and I will both be in Mount Shasta for a conference coming up in late July, and you can get tickets for that event below in the description. Aaron, what's the name of the conference? I always forget.
The full name is The Calling and Angelic Reunion, but The Calling works too.
And the dates are?
July 16th through the 20th.
Okay, so and Aaron is going to be a presenter. Can't wait to hear your presentation. So that is, if you're interested in joining us there, you can grab a ticket. That link is below in the description. And immediately following the conference, we will be premiering our documentary, our Secret Space Program documentary, A Lifetime of Silence Behind the Green Door. If you have not seen it, you can go to our Patreon and watch it. It's only $9.99. You can find that through our website, journeytotruth.online. That link is below as well. But if you want to watch it while you're in Mount Shasta, it's only $10 to attend the movie premiere. It's in the upper floor of Soul Connections, if you're familiar with the area, and it's going to be shown at 7 p.m. on the July 21st. So we're looking forward to that. And another event coming up is one that I will be speaking at with Kevin, our guest today, Kevin, in Aztec, New Mexico, actually at the Tico Time Resort, which is where the Sunfire Fest was held a few years ago, which was an amazing event that Aaron and I were at.
Mhm.
And if you're interested, you can grab tickets at the Quantumdisclosureproject.com, I believe is the website for that. And so looking
That's
forward
right.
to that. Looking forward to that. Aztec, New Mexico is where there's a famous UFO wreck, the 1948 Aztec, New Mexico wreck, where there's 16 bodies found. And there's actually more information for that wreck than there was for the actual 1947 Roswell wreckage, which is interesting. So there's a whole history there. I just looked it up the other day because I might even be touching on that during my talk. Anyway, maybe if you find yourself in the area in September and you want to come hang out with us in Aztec, New Mexico, September 21st to the 24th, you can grab tickets at the quantumdisclosureproject.com. Now, with that out of the way, today we are joined by Kevin Estrella. He is actually friends of Sue Walker, who we had on the show episode 189. And if you don't know who Sue Walker is, she's a ET experiencer, but specifically with the Ponti. And the Ponti are a race of beings that you see on the wall behind Kevin here on screen. And Kevin is friends with Sue, and he is now also a contactee and an experiencer, and he has been in communication with the Ponti, and he has some really interesting information to share with us, and we're going to get into some fun stuff today. So, welcome to the show, Kevin. We're happy to have you here.
Oh, very excited to be here, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I guess I do want to go through kind of the bullet points of who the Ponti are, where are they from, what are they doing here, how long have they been here, that stuff. But I want to address the elephant in the room first, just to get this out of the way, because the whole gray narrative right now is, because of the Disclosure Day film, a lot of people, they want to just throw all the grays in one box as if they're all evil. They think that if you claim that the grays are positive, that you're a gray sympathizer. So maybe you could help clarify the difference between the Ponti and the Greys, and maybe we can start off the conversation there just to give some people a better understanding of what we're going to be talking about today.
Oh, sure. Well, here's a good analogy. Um, how many different groups are there on the planet? They're all human, right? So let's say that let's compare that to the grays. Humans are all grays. Okay. How many groups of humans are there on this planet? Different groups of sex.
A lot.
There's a lot. There's a lot of different sects, and there's a lot of different beliefs and groups of who they do, what they are, but they're all human, right? So you have to understand that there are several different species of Zeta. It's very the Zeta body is very the easy body. It's a very typical body of that that is out there. But there's about 7 different star nations of Zetas who are visiting Earth. At least 7 from what we understand from the Ponti. And you cannot lump them all in together. That would be like lumping everybody in the Earth being, of the same and being judged the same. So would you want to be judged the same as, a certain group that you don't want to be associated with? It's not very fair, is it? So that's the same thing. Now, Dr. Stephen Greer has mentioned many things that coincide exactly with what Commander Tilcomb here has said about there being biologically grown Zetas here on the planet that are doing the harm, that are doing abductions. And Tilcomb calls them the aliens. He says they are the aliens, not us. So the Ponti are our guardians. They've been here for a long time. They're our friends. They've been trying to help us. They've been behind the scenes. Their history goes back 135,000 years of their records here on this planet. And the reason why they're here is to help prepare us for official first contact. That is why they're here. So that is the biggest thing. The other question is, well, why now? Why is all this stuff happening now? Why is all this stuff happening in the media? Well, the reason for that is because as a Ponti have been warning for many years that we are in the middle of an extinction level event. We're having a geomagnetic excursion where the magnetosphere of our planet is weakening as the poles have been moving. The North Pole has been moving towards Siberia and is moving further and further. And the South Pole, they all seem to be converging at the Strait of Gibraltar. And if you really want to know the science behind all this, because people are asking, well, what's the proof? Where's the proof? I suggest that you follow Ben Davidson on Twitter, Space Weather News, who is a scientist. He is a space weather and sun scientist. And he's been monitoring this and the changes that are going on with our sun. And he's been talking about this extinction level event that has a potential of happening. And I've seen the what do you call it? The demos that some people have done of the planet showing exactly what happens. And it's even more terrifying than I even imagined. And we'll get into that.
Okay. So, well, let's rewind before we get into that a little bit and just give us a better understanding. I appreciate the explanation of the Greys versus the Ponti, and
Yes.
that's a great analogy, and I've used that same analogy before as well, and it goes for all ETs, and everybody, and throughout the galaxy. So
even like reptilians, there's
right,
benevolent ones, there's regressive ones, there's all everywhere in between, right?
right.
That's right.
Lump them all into one. Oh, they're all bad. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's like saying all humans are bad. Which
Right.
I kind of agree. I agree the majority are, but it's like
lower level of consciousness, you could say.
lower level of consciousness, absolutely, yes.
Right. So let's rewind a little bit. Okay, the Ponti they've been here for 135,000 years, but we didn't get into. I just kind of want to go back to square one for the people who don't know who we're dealing with here, because there's a lot of people new to our channel that may have never heard of the Ponti. So maybe you can kind of explain the story of their emergence and how they started communicating with Sue and even yourself, where they're located. Basically, just give us the bullet points of how that progressed.
Sure, yeah. So Sue Walker is the first person who had contact with the Ponti. Well, actually, technically Otter was, and then when Sue started dating Otter and she went and started visiting him in Albuquerque. That's when things began. And so it all began, I think, in 2014, where the two of them were watching. I think it was The Voice, one of those talent shows and stuff like that. And there's a singer who was doing really well. And Sue said, I think, he was really good. And I think he deserves to win. And then this disembodied voice that came from the Sandia Mountains in Albuquerque, New Mexico, spoke up and said, "Yes, I agree with you." And then Sue's like, "Okay, who's that?" And so eventually, more conversations started to have with this person, this telepathic communication that was going on, and um, and was getting a little bit more information here and there. And she was afraid to ask Otter about it because she didn't want to look like she was crazy. And then one day she said to him, like, "Have you heard a strange voice that comes from the mountain?" And he's like, "Oh, them. Yeah, they talk all the time. I just got to tune them out." So she knew that was real. And so one day she finally, she got tired of calling it the voice from the mountain. And so she decided to call the voice Sandia because of, it came from Sandia Mountains 2 miles below. Now let's clarify. This has nothing to do with the Sandia military installation base there. It has nothing to do with this. This happens to deal with 2 miles under the Sandia Mountains is an ancient human civilization that was last occupied 60,000 years ago. And it was abandoned by when a cataclysmic event happened where a ancient lake broke open and a huge mud flood happened and destroyed all of the farmland, and the underground city had to be abandoned. And I believe there's probably about 1 million people who were able to live in this thing. Also, it was a race of giants because I've been to the Sandia Mountains. I can remember little bits when they picked me up and taken me. And I remember there's a lot of large steps that you have to crawl over top of. That's the only one thing I remember that was odd about the whole thing. Um, anyway, so the Ponti, they refurbished about 10 to 15% of that original base for their own usage. So that's where they reside. And so then eventually, Sue was introduced to Tilcom, Commander Tilcom, when she said, "I called you Sandia." And he said, "Watermelon head. Yeah, that'll do." Because watermelon means Sandia. So, and then eventually, she learned more and more from him. And he introduced the crew at that point. He introduced Tani, introduced Drudy, introduced Radar. And that's Tani right there. That's Drudy right there. That's Drudy as well. So that's kind of where things began. I met the Ponti in 2016 when I was introduced to them on Twitter, and I started following them every day. And they were keen they were interested in me. And then private DM conversations were going on with the Ponti and myself with Tani, and eventually this friendship started to begin. And then they introduced me to Sue Walker, and I ended up having a conversation with her for the first time, and we just hit it off immediately and really grew close together. And it's been an incredible venture, since then, since 2016.
Right, and we'll definitely dive into that, but one more question. So they're 2 miles underground in this refurbished city, for lack of a better term, beneath the Sandia Mountains, and what specifically are they doing there? I know Sue refers to it as an information station, and is that the only place they are on Earth? Are they in other locations? Can you answer that?
There are 4 major extraterrestrial information stations on the planet. There's one in Europe. There's one in I think it's the Tasman Sea. It's somewhere in like the Australia, New Zealand area. It's an underwater base, and I can't remember where the other one is. But they all kind of, work independently. The Ponti are not traveling to the other information stations. They stay within their own vicinity of their designated area. But the Ponti, they do come up here to Canada, so that's their territory, and they come up here. They come up here all the time. They visit me every day, every Saturday and Sunday, Friday and Sunday. It's Friday and Saturday nights they are here, bumping the back of my couch and just hanging out. It's really funny. They love, I'll play my PS4 and playing games, and they'll be behind me just watching me play games. And they've been doing that since 2017. It's been going on. They like our culture. They want to learn about us, what we like to do in our spare time, and they're cultural explorers as
So
well as gardener intellect.
so they're just here monitoring, observing?
Well, that's part of it. I mean, that's just part of part of their what they do. The major mission, of course, is official first contact. That is the main mission. But they have many trainees. There's hundreds of trainees now at this point, and the Ponti are nocturnal, so they go out at nighttime and they visit people, or they got different missions that they do and whatever it is that they do. But they do go and visit people all over the world, and they visit their Twitter followers as well. And there's lots of evidence on the website that shows that the followers of Sandia at Sandia Wisdom on Twitter of the evidence they have of the visitations that the Ponti have been to their place. And I have lots of it too here.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking of questions for the average viewer right now. Whenever you say they visit you and they're all over, they come out at night, are they visible to the naked eye? Are they operating in a higher dimension? What does that look like?
That's a good question because I don't see them. I don't see them physically. They're always invisible for the most part. Sue has seen them physically, and also Jeff Demers, who is another he's another ambassador for the Ponti, and he has seen Tilcom physically. He's seen other star nations physically. I still have not. The only time I ever saw Ponti physically was at my apartment in 2017, and it was PETA who showed up in my apartment, and I just happened to be that I accidentally woke up and to see him, but he eventually kind of put me back to sleep after that. But I have seen them. That was one time physically. I have met them in the astral. I've also had them show up, surrounding my bed, where I was like in a half awake sleep state, and there was 5 of them surrounding me, and I could feel their hands resting on my arms and my legs, and they were kind of brushing my arms like this, and I could hear them walking around in my bedroom, like their feet moving. They move really fast, and then I could hear them. I have like a didgeridoo long tube, the Australian thing that you play is in the corner. I could hear them picking it up because it was grinding against the wall. So I could hear all the stuff that was going on while they were visiting me. But the thing that I remember the most about that visit was the feeling, the emotion that they were sharing with me, because they were sharing their emotions with me. And it was a feeling of your family. That's what it felt like. It's this really warm feeling of your family to us. And I'll never forget that. Their emotions are extremely complex, very complex emotions. And then when they share their emotions with you, it's just overwhelming. It really is. It's incredible.
Yeah, and the artwork behind you, it doesn't depict them even as the stereotypical gray that we understand. It's more human-like. They're happier,
Yeah, more
charming. Yeah,
the eyes are more human-like, definitely.
right.
Yeah.
As they each have an individual character. As the grays look like drones, they all look like a copy, a clone, essentially a drone, whatever they want to call them.
Yeah.
Well, it's those black nictitating lenses that throws people off. You have to understand that those are just like they're like built-in sunglasses, just like on a dog or a cat. We have them as well, but also like alligators. So it's just an eye cover that helps them see better at night. But behind those nictitating lenses, they have beautiful big blue eyes or brown eyes or multicolored eyes. Just like us, they're very, very much human. They're just not Earth human, but they are so similar to us in body type. They all have individual, they all look individual. They have variations in the way they look. They just don't have hair, which they're very envious of us for that.
Interesting. So, what do you think about the theory that grays are us from the future, and what would the Ponti say to that?
I don't buy that at all. I don't. I mean, the Ponti, they had, okay, we're waiting for our official first contact, right? The Ponti had their official first contact 14.6 million years ago. They have been traveling the galaxies for 14.6 million years. That's how far advanced they are. So they're not from the future. They're just more advanced. We are very infantile in regards to our advancement. We think we're so great and wondering how can another extraterrestrial make it to Earth? that doesn't make any sense. How can they travel light years? It would take them forever. No, it's because they're working on different physics than we are. Well, how come we haven't even had any contact with them? Why don't we pick up any radio signals? Well, that's because they communicate telepathically. It's
Right.
like, you're kind of like, making smoke signals and you're expecting, radio frequencies to come get you,
Right.
Mm.
Well, explain to me the social media accounts, because this is something I know somebody new to this still have questions about. And to me, it's not a stretch of the imagination at all. If they are that advanced, why couldn't they have a computer or a device similar to our phones or computer and have an account on social media? And I've heard from a number of experiencers actually that not just the Ponti, but other groups are hiding on social media as well.
Well, I know for the Ponti, just to speak of for the Ponti, that they don't have a computer in front of them, and they're not the ones who have the Twitter account doing the actual tweeting.
Okay.
It's Sue Walker who opened up the account on their behalf, and she does all the tweeting for them.
I
So
see.
she's the telepathic. But that does not say that it's not possible that there are extraterrestrials who are communicating um, physically on computers, on social media events, because the person who introduced me to the Ponti, who you'll probably like, we call him Wookie, and you see him on some of the videos that he and I have made, close encounters of the Ponti kind. His first contact with extraterrestrials were what he called the little frogs, who were two extraterrestrials who lived with a man somewhere. I don't know where the house was, but they're the ones who lived in this guy's place, and they communicated on the computer, and they're the ones who are actually physically talking to him. And um, it's quite interesting, actually, because I remember one of the things that was crazy about the whole thing was that they were talking about me to him before he even met me, and just describing me and what I do and stuff like that. And like and my buddy didn't even understand who they were talking about. It wasn't until after he met me when he realized, oh, the little frogs are always talking about you. And it's like, for them, past, present, and future don't really exist. They're all the same to them. So the timeline was kind of mixed up there. They didn't realize that he hadn't really met him, or didn't even really make any difference. They were just talking about me. So, but yes, extraterrestrials, some of them actually are physically using computers to have the ability to do that.
Right.
That's the answer to your question.
Yeah, I
Well,
believe.
Tyler, you had that experience with the text messages. That was an inner Earth being, but still, they were able to. I highly doubt they're on a phone texting you when they did that, right?
Right.
They just manipulated your phone for the text to show up. I'm sure, So I'm sure
Right.
ETs have that ability. A lot of ETs probably have that same ability to
But there's also a lot of
yeah, that as well.
ETs who are living here, who look just like us,
Mhm.
who are from other planets and are amongst us, living, doing normal lives, and they will reveal themselves in time. I mean, you have tall whites who live in the Nevada area and Las Vegas,
Yep.
and you have the Umo, who are a human race. They have slightly more orange skin, but they're very scientific, mathematics type of civilization from the Virgo constellation, and they made contact with people in Spain, and that's that in the 70s, and a lot of their technical stuff has been written into books. So, but they're as human as we are. So you don't know who's an ET or who's not.
Right.
They're amongst us. They live amongst us, but they will reveal themselves when the time is right.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
yeah, Nordics, even Venusians, if you look at the way they're described, look at Valiant Thor. I mean,
Yep.
you wouldn't know the difference, right? Unless you knew
Yeah.
what to look
Right.
for.
Robert Dean, he said that many times. He's like, they're amongst us and they look exactly like us. You would never know the difference. But and then it's like they're here. He's like, they're in government, they're in corporations, they're in military, they're spread all over the place. And you would never know unless they told you or they proved it somehow.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. I think the majority of people might be surprised if they were to somehow flip a switch and we could see which ones were ETs. You'd be like, "Oh shit, I've been looking at them every day." You know?
Right.
Uh,
Mhm.
yeah,
Like,
so
and
I
they
wanna
live glasses.
right,
Yeah.
they live glasses.
And
I just
possibly.
want you to I wanna bring up one recent, X post from Sandia Wisdom. I guess this would be from Sue. She said, "Our deceased Zuni elder friend Clifford Mahudi told us about a decade ago that he was very aware of a sliding door entrance on the west side of the Sandia Mountain, a couple of canyons north of the Sandia Tram, which I'll ask you about, just as the Ponti had informed us years before that. This is the first time I've heard his description verified by two separate eyewitnesses who, as Boy Scouts on September 10th, 1958, watched this very door opened. I listened to both witnesses, and what they tell us matches what Clifford Mahudi said in 2016 and what the Ponti have told us all along. Worth a listen." And then she links the video. So, can you maybe elaborate on this door that she's talking about and this Sandia tram and anything that you might know about this?
I wish I could, but I really don't have much information about it. I saw that tweet, and I haven't gotten around to watching the video of Clifford Mahudi, talking about it. But Clifford Mahudi, he's a Zuni tribe, Zuni elder tribe leader, and he's been on Gaia TV. He's been on Ancient Aliens, and he speaks and talks about their people's interactions with the Star Nations for hundreds or thousands of years, and their people are very well aware of the Ponti, and have a lot of history that goes back there. So, you know,
Yeah.
Clifford has so much information that he shares, which is it's mind blowing.
Yeah, no, thank you for
We had him on the show about 6 years ago,
mhm.
Oh,
I
well,
believe.
like,
Yeah, yeah, and we were, somewhat friends with him back then.
Yeah, Clifford was great, and I recently just met his son, actually, who's carrying the torch for him now, and I watched him
yeah,
speak here in Sedona, and, he was we actually hit it off when we were sharing stories about his dad and stuff. It was pretty cool.
he's a great guy. In
Yeah.
fact, actually, he gifted me a soapstone statue of a Sasquatch that he made. It's
Oh,
actually down the hallway here and sits in my bathroom. He looks down the hallway to keep an eye on this, keep my place protected. I really
That's amazing.
cherish that gift that he gave me.
That's amazing.
right. And, okay, so what about this Sandia tram? Is that something, like an underground tunnel network thing? Is that what they're referring to, or do you know?
What I know that they've talked about is that there are ancient tunnel systems that run throughout the United States that are very, very old. These are not the ones they're not talking about the military ones, but these are ones that existed from the last age of man that the Pontiac recently explained and it was part of a transport system from the last age of man. So you have to understand there's been several cataclysms that have taken place where we've gone extinct, and this part still exists. This system.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's ancient, very ancient.
Yeah.
I think anybody at this point is at least somewhat aware of the underground tunnel network, and a lot of it's been done by our military. But from us interviewing people, it seems very apparent that most of these tunnels were already there, and they've just been repurposed, and they're being, who knows who's utilizing them? Probably ETs and humans, and which brings me to my next question. So you said earlier the Ponti are in no way affiliated with the military or government. Is that so they've had no interaction as far as you know, or do they work with them in some capacity at all?
With the military, they don't work with the military. The only thing that they do is that they monitor what goes on planetary wise with those who have the um, access to the buttons. You know what I mean? So that's what they keep an eye out for. They are they've been trying to make connections with higher people up. I don't know exactly in what capacities or who those people are, but they are trying to, make contact with them.
Okay.
I know that Radar got Sue to email the Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama actually responded. But the thing was that Stu didn't realize was that that was actually Dalai Lama's private email, and somehow Radar got a hold of it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Yeah, well, that tells you something right there.
Yeah, that's incredible.
What kind of information is at the information station? So, is there anything like I know we kind of just jumped into all these questions and stuff, but did you have, did you feel like you wanted to share more of your experiences with the Ponte and how that unfolded for you, or was there anything in particular you wanted to get into? I know you said the first contact is something that you wanted to talk about. I'm very interested to hear what the Ponte's version of that looks like and what they see, how they see that occurring.
Sure, yeah. I'll be talking mostly about my relationship with the Ponte. It's been a developing relationship for the last, since 2016. I had my first visitation from the Ponte in 2017, where they showed up at my apartment, and I was awoken to the feeling of liquid draining out of my left ear. That woke me up, and then the next morning, a statue had been moved, and Sue told me that you'd know if the Ponte were there if something was moved. And then eventually, talking to my buddy, Wookie, he also talked about a similar thing with his ear as well. That was done, and we found out that the Ponte had done a procedure where they kind of like dipped us, and liquid was put into our bodies or heads. And what happened was that after a week's time, my body was exfoliating metals and ammonia and all these toxic stuff, and I'm sure it was also fluoride, because by after a week's time, my head completely cleared and I was able to access parts of my brain that I never was able to access before. And and then they repeated the procedure a month later. I had another stain on my pillow as well. It was like a reddish brown stain. And then my I could really hear things much clearer. And the Ponte said that my telepathic projection was much clearer now. So that was interesting. Um, but the Ponte, I've learned a lot about their culture over the years. You can go to the archives of their Twitter on at officialfirstcontact.com. So there is a Twitter archives there, which you can do searches by keywords that will pull up conversations or things that the Ponte have talked about in the past to be able to reference. But what I'm going to be doing tonight is I have spent the last 3 years collecting, well, actually, I spent the last, 10 years collecting, taking snapshots of their tweets, of the ones that are important, of things that they have said. And then I turned them into memes using Sue Walker's artwork and then posting it. And then we made those into memes, but then I made them into YouTube shorts where I'm narrating it and expressing what it is that they're saying. So we're going to be getting into a bunch of those, so you get a really good sense of a little bit of the culture of the Ponte, but also about the warnings about this extinction level event which they are talking about. So, but they're very much like us in every single way. They have their likes, they have their dislikes, they have their specialties. Um, you know, Thera up here, her specialty is in the tonal language of the cetaceans and the whales. That's her expertise. Drudy, she's an expert in public relations. So she knows every single star nation that comes to visit the Sandia Mountain and knows their families and all that kind of stuff. Tani, she's the one who wrote the telepathy primer. Then you have Radar, my buddy, who is he's a excellent cartographer, pilot, long distance telepath, and he was here to basically watch every single TV show and movie that has to do with extraterrestrials to get a sense of what we think about that about them. So
Very
yeah,
yeah, I have a few questions before you move forward because this is fascinating. For one, you mentioned they track all the star nations that come and visit the Sandia Mountain. So, is it like, does it double as a spaceport? How often are
yeah,
visitors coming?
yeah. There's visitors all the time. So they have lots of different star nations that come visit that that information station. Um, I think even the IA have visited, because at one point, Judy interrupted Sue to make a public announcement that the IA had arrived in our solar system, which is a huge major deal because they were banned from Earth a long time ago because they had a battle with another Ia nation over parts of the world where some continents were destroyed and lots of people were killed. So, and that's been documented in our history of these space battles that took place, and it was the Ia, and they were kicked out, and then the planet then went under protected status after that battlefield. So,
Wow. Yeah. So, man, you're bringing so many questions to mind, but I guess I have two questions before we move forward. One, like, what else have they told you about Earth's history, even the history of humanity? Is there anything significant, like that we probably don't know, or is a lesser known fact about our civilization?
oh boy, honestly, the best I can suggest a book for people to read. There's two books actually, because one of them actually references the other. There's Judy Carroll's. She's from Australia, and she wrote a book because she's a dual soul hybrid. So she's half gray like a Zeta, and half human in her soul. And then eventually her Zeta family came back to her and retaught her and dumped lots of information into her. And then she wrote a book called Extraterrestrial Presence on Earth: Lessons in History, which is about the history of humanity from the point of view of, the Zetas, which and it gets into a lot of things with religion as well. Gets into the controllers, the reptilian controllers on this planet. But the other book that I reference is Sunbow's Sasquatch Message to Humanity: Conversations with Camus.
Great book.
Because that book goes back even further. But if you read both books, they're telling the same story. And Judy Carroll quotes Sasquatch Message to Humanity all throughout her book, because the both are talking. The Sasquatch and the Zetas are corroborating on the same documented information.
Yeah.
The only difference with Sasquatch Message to Humanity is that he goes back all the way to Pangea, when the Earth was still one continent, and then talking about the ant people and the reptilians and all that, and the moon and the civilizations on the moon and all that kind of stuff. It gets really in depth with our history. If you really want to get into that, I recommend both those books highly.
And
I have all three Sasquatch Message to Humanity books, and they're all amazing. I totally agree. Fantastic. Yeah. Phenomenal. So I'm going to have to get that Judy Carroll book.
It's great.
Well,
I'm rereading it again right now.
Nice.
I'm looking up. We interviewed Sumbo. Did we not,
did.
Aaron?
We did a few years ago. I want to say like 3 years ago or so.
Yeah, I'm looking right now to see what episode number that was, because it was an incredible episode, and that, like you said, that book is profound, and
I have to go back and reread it. I do reread it because there's so much in there.
Episode 245. Episode 245, Sumbo True Brothers, The Sasquatch Message to Humanity. If anyone is interested in watching that. May 4th, 2023, so a few years ago. And then I guess the next question I had, you mentioned one of them was a pilot. So are they some of the craft that we see? Did they pilot the stereotypical UFO? Is it a cigar-shaped craft? Like, what do you know about that?
The Ponti's main craft are skipper ships. So they're like, they can fit up to like 3 people, and that's what they use mostly to travel in. They do also have the long cylinder cigar shaped like ones too, but those are more for scientific excursions, like checking water levels or checking water samples in northern Canada, or also relocating cetaceans and whales from the ocean who have been contaminated by Fukushima and radiation, or removing them and moving them off planet for the disasters that are coming, that are going to happen.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things going on with the ships they have.
That's incredible. I love that. So they're here. I guess you could say they're assisting us in a number of ways as well, and not even just us, just the wildlife as well, who are extraterrestrials. The whales and dolphins, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
So they are so important that there's, like, as I said to somebody today, we only know about 25% of the extraterrestrials visiting Earth because 75% of the planet is covered in water, and that's where the rest of the ETs go. And they are aquatic. They are aquatic, extraterrestrials. They are more interested in the whales than humans because the whales are more advanced than we are.
In any of your time with the Ponti, has the conversation of the Federation ever come up? Are they involved with the Federation? Are they aware of Galactic Federation?
Oh yeah, they work for they are part of the Federation.
Okay.
So yeah, but the thing is, like, the Federation is the one who's controlling official first contact. The Ponti are they're frustrated with the Federation sometimes because they want things to happen faster. So, but they have to go at the speed of that because the Ponti are not in control of that. They go by what the Federation dictates.
So, what can you tell us about this official first contact, and what does it look like, and when is it supposed to happen? Is that the type of information that you understand from them, or is the conversation different?
Yeah, well, it's changed over the years. When I first met Sue, in 2016, the deadline for official first contact was supposed to be the fall of 2021. That was actually the date because that was the end of the 50-year treaty that was signed by certain by certain governments or officials and certain star nations of
I
agreements.
remember this. I remember Sue talking about this now. Okay, continue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like it was a 50-year agreement, and 2021 was the date for that ending of that. And then the OFC was supposed to happen after that. So I was waiting 5 years for official first contact to happen. So was Sue. We really thought that it was going to happen. And then on the winter solstice, Tilcom made an announcement that really shocked us, saying that the Federation has decided to, they've been monitoring what's going on with the activity with the sun and the Earth, monitoring Earth Kiwa's readiness for official first contact. Because if you remember, that was the height of the pandemic at that point. So there's a lot of manipulation that was going on already. And they were also still monitoring the threat of a false flag alien invasion that Dr. Stephen Greer has been warning about forever. So because of those things, they decided that they're going to be doing official first contact slowly with the increase of UFO sightings. And that's why for the last 5 years, you've seen nothing but massive, sightings of UFOs that are all over the news now, and people filming all these UFOs flying over the place. That's because they're trying to get people to wake up and look up. And that's the direction that they've gone into for a softer disclosure.
And what does that timeline look like now? Did they give it a new deadline, or?
I honestly think that something big is going to be happening between this year and 2027. The reason being because of all this release of information that Trump has put out, the release of this movie, the new disclosure movie by Spielberg. It's all in the news. Things are slowly leaking out. The dam is breaking, but I think it's building up to something even bigger. And I also believe that that's a reason why that something bigger is happening is because the Ponti never let me remember any time they picked me up, but they picked me up 4 times over Christmas because I wake up in the morning, and keep in mind, like, it's winter here. We got snowfall. It's like minus 15 degrees Celsius. And 4 times I woke up with mosquito bites.
Hmm.
That's the only thing I know that I'm allowed to remember of knowing that I've been taken somewhere and something happened. But the thing that I remember that they allowed me to remember was that they wanted me going forward to do as many interviews as possible, like I'm doing now, to introduce the Ponti to the world because 2026 was a very important year for disclosure. That's all they told me. And then 4 months later, now all of a sudden, with all this information that Trump is releasing, I finally get it of what's really going on.
Mhm.
So I really believe something big is going to happen this year, and it will be inevitable 2027. I also follow Daryl Anka, Bashar, and he said the same thing, and I believe him.
Yes, I mean, it's apparent that we're shifting into this new era where ETs are here among us. It's just a matter of, this old paradigm being dissolved, I think, before finally the collective, like that 100th monkey effect, to where it's just commonly accepted. Um, but you said you wanted to share some memes or whatever pertaining to, some information.
Yeah.
Is that where you want to go next with this?
I would love to do that. Yeah. Because you'll find this very interesting. These are the memes that we've created from the Ponti of what they've actually said, and I've created, so you're going to get a little bit of a education regarding them. So it says, if your sun undergoes a micronova when its poles reverse, the Federation does not have the technology to stop it. Kiwa Earth humans can go underground with provisions as far away from Earth's coastlines as possible to avoid the giant tsunamis that will occur. That's Tilcum.
Can you move a little closer, maybe in front of your phone or and closer to that microphone? Not the camera, the you
Oh,
yourself for the audio.
yeah. Okay. How's that?
Yeah, that it should be okay. It was just a little muffled wherever you were before.
Okay. All right. I'll stand here. Okay. We do blush. We also get goosebumps, have funny bones, are ticklish, burp, hiccup, fart, cry tears, snore, and giggle. The Ponti. With telepathy, observe thoughts that come like a bolt out of the blue. Words, phrases you don't normally use. You're ready to get the answer when you finally ask the question. Now, this was a key instrumental to me with a huge jump I did with my telepathy when I started to recognize by quieting my mind like a pond of, making it look like glass of no thoughts, and then thoughts that are coming into my mind, the bolt of the blue. I'm starting to hear my friends and family talking. I get their thoughts before they speak to me. This is happening more and more because I learned about this observing thoughts that come like a bolt out of the blue. So this is critical to learning telepathy.
And before you go on to the next one, I just want to. The first one you talked about is this event potentially from the sun that they won't be able to stop. And I guess is this the cataclysm that you've been kind of hinting at throughout the episode?
That's right. Yeah, that's the
And,
one.
and why do they think that this is a potential threat and that there's nothing that can be done?
Well, it's part of the Earth cycle. It happens every 12,000 years. Ben Davidson, as I explained, Space Weather News really explains the science behind it. He's made documentaries on it, videos explaining how this works and how it's part of a cyclical event. The Ponti said that it's healthy for our planet, and it's nothing that we can do. It's triggered by because we are moving through the Milky Way, and we're going into an area which they call the zone, which is a highly magnetized ribboned area that is causing excitement with the planets and our star. And there's nothing that can be done about it. So we just have to live through it. And these are the potentials of the cataclysms that can occur and have occurred in the past.
So is this something that we should be worried about? Will
Uh,
we potentially survive it? Or do you have a question there?
Well, some of these tweets some of these memes will explain some of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Rhythm, dance, music, art, and food are considered the first areas of shared overlap and understanding between the visiting cultures. We study them in preparation for Earth's official first contact so we can celebrate together joyfully. Tani. There is no climate emergency. The extremes of climate change you are experiencing now, due to the turbulent area of the galaxy that your solar system is passing through, is normal every 25,000 years. There is more than just this solar system's geomagnetic changes going on. This is from Sue. Yesterday, I asked the Ponti if we are closer to official first contact. The response was a little concerning. You are closer because of your star's disquiet is increasing. Uh-oh.
What does that mean? The stars disquiet?
Disquiet. Yeah,
The
because of all
sun?
the sun, the coronal mass ejections, like we have one that's hitting our planet right now. They're
Mhm.
happening more and more often. We are getting blasted, and we have for years. Then the Schumann resonance going off the charts for the last 3-4 years. So yeah, the disquiet of our sun is peaking more and more. I mean, we could have a micronova blow anytime, guys. Anytime.
So I have a question. So are they waiting until after that happens for first contact? That's kind of what it
No,
sounds like to me.
no, that's
No?
why they want contact to happen. That's why the time is run out, and that's the reason why there's more push from the government now because they realize that the time has run out, and if they don't disclose, then the Star Nation, the Federation's going to. So that's kind of where things are. So we
And
are. That's
I'm assuming that's also to help us to protect against whatever's happening or to have a warning about it as well, right?
yeah, yeah, to help prepare people because
To prepare.
the mainstream media is not covering this. They're keeping
No
this
one, yeah,
quiet.
no one is talking about this, yeah, other than Ben Davidson and a few people
That's
on
right.
the internet. Um, the masses have 99.9% of people will know nothing about it
That's right.
currently.
And they want to keep it that way because they want to depopulize the planet.
That
So,
is very true, unfortunately. Yep.
yeah. All right, here we go. Earth's magnetic reversal is not gradual, and the resulting weakening magnetosphere allows in radiation that kills upper soil microbes as well as ocean plankton. Growing anything becomes much harder, resulting in starvation. Plankton die off means less oxygen, newell. Now, Ben Davidson has been explaining this that because of the movement of the North Pole, it's weakening our magnetosphere, which protects our planet, the magnetic field, and so there's more stuff that's getting through, more sunlight is getting through, and the field is dampening, as weakening. So basically, for 150 years, we lost 10% of our magnetosphere, and in the last 10 years, we lost an additional 15%. So it's fast, and Ben Davidson predicts that it'll completely blow out by 2030 to 2050. This is what the Ponti are talking about, where when it does, then we have very little protection from radiation from the sun, and it won't be safe to be on the surface anymore. Drudy said the visiting star nations were the ones asking if evacuation plans had been prepared. They were inquiring as to how to safely pull their own people out who are on planet, beneath the surface, or in the oceans. Star nations can't help us until their people are stable. Drudy. This happened about 3 years ago, and people people following the Ponti were panicking a bit because they were talking about star nations showing up from deep space, looking at evacuation plans, and that's what they were looking at. And what they said was that they were anticipating that our sun was going to go micronova by I think the summer of 2024. So I was on pins and needles like that whole time, wondering is this actually going to happen? Fortunately, it did not happen. But as I said, we are very close. Do you know what we call a culture that uses AI to fight its wars? We call them extinct. Someone always finds a back door to the programming. It never ends well for the designers. Just keep that in mind. This is an important one. What will happen if some group or nation attempts to arrange a false flag disclosure invasion to discredit star nations? If a false flag alien invasion event were to be tried and dignitaries who have arrived for Earth's official first contact became aware of the attempted lie, one, they would leave and cancel official first contact. Two, forget about any Earth human rescue. Three, say goodbye future technology sharing. So this is what it's at stake. If the governments decide to do a false flag alien invasion, it basically fucks the rest of us. Sorry to use that language, but it's the way it is. Okay. This is really
really quick. What is your opinion on a potential false flag invasion? Do you think it'll even be allowed? Because it seems like that could easily be stopped by whatever groups are here helping us.
I'm hoping that it doesn't happen. But Dr. Stephen Greer, after watching, the Steven Spielberg's last movie, he's afraid that he thinks that they are setting things up for that. So that's something to be worried about, that they might be setting up for something like that, like a cataclysmic disclosure of doing something like a false flag to unite the world to create more military. So I hope it doesn't happen, because if it does, we're done. We're screwed. Yeah, this is regarding Drudy. This is what she does in her pastime when she's off, when she's able to get a skippership, and she goes with a friend down south. So she finds these flocks of birds, like bowerbirds that will fly like and swoop and stuff like that. Well, they'll telepathically merge with them and create different shapes and stuff, and it's called fly kiting. So she says, first we ask the flock if they wish to create sky images in our art sport of fly kiting with us. They are seldom asked. That most of the time the response is yes. We suggest a moving image to them telepathically. They try to recreate it together. We all have fun.
So what's that called again? Fly what?
Fly kiting.
Fly kiting?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. You see how she's making a heart with her arms, and the birds are making a heart? That's kind of what they do. We are now and always have been your friends. Tilcom, Commander, Sandia, Commander. Fun fact number 5. Our holiday feasts are very long affairs that involve many courses, beginning at dark and ending at dawn. However, they are not sit-down affairs, but small portions we nibble at while retelling old stories until the next course about 1 or 2 hours later. Hit. Fun fact number 4. We share our experiences of other planets back home. They love hearing about Earth and all you people. Chill. God, don't get me started on waiting for official first contact. I am so frustrated with the Federation and their have patience attitude. I'm with you. I'm ready for OFC now. Radar. So yes, they do work with the Federation. The galactic weather storm you are barreling into contains areas possessing a high debris field that is powerfully magnetic in its makeup. The zone will have a profound effect on the strength of Earth's magnetosphere, magnetic poles, and could tilt Earth's axis. Your world is about to receive a rather large global reset. Yes, it is inevitable, Zufu. We are here to help collect and save the best parts of your culture after your sons goes through its upcoming changes. We will also be here to help Earth survivors gather together and start their culture anew. Tilcom. The word honesty for us, there is an unspoken...
Nope, we lost you.
Oh, okay.
So, just start it. No, go back and read that one again.
Read this one?
No, the one before that.
No, the last one.
This one?
No, I guess
this one.
That one.
That one, yeah.
Okay. All right. The word honesty for us, there is an unspoken meaning. Non-verbally translates the honest person inside me is specifically appealing to the honest person inside you because it's the right-minded thing to do. Honesty and communication is always invoked by us. It is it's an automatic part of our culture, that of being emotionally honest. Plays a huge role in telepathic societies. We have observed it is not an automatic part of your culture. Well, isn't that true?
Yep.
Traveling millions of miles across space to pet a horse.
Hmm.
Hospital ships are arriving in your star system right now and parking themselves outside of Neptune's orbit. Do not assume they are amassing an invasion. Quite the opposite. They can't rescue everybody, but can help lots of folks. Sufu. So, yes, they are planning a rescue. They are out there, these massive spaceships that are like planet sized, but they will not be able to save all 7.8 billion of us. We are currently in the phase of introductions. The next phase will include an increase in non-threatening sightings and interactions with the pilots and crews of these craft. Have your cell phone cameras ready. Zufu.
Now, I have a question just because I know the audience, I already know how the audience is going to respond to this portion because we've discussed this on our channel before. Um, like Captain Mark Richards, Kerry Cassidy's whistleblower, he said one of the things he said was that any narrative where we're going to be rescued or have to be evacuated, he's like, matter of factly guarantee that's just government misinformation, and that don't believe in that. So, what are the chances that some of the messages coming from what they think are the Ponti maybe have been hijacked? Because I've just, there's a lot of these are very fear-based messages, and they don't really give me a good feeling, which I use as an indicator to like it's keeping people living in fear. Like you said, like a year ago or two, you were like biting your nails because something might be coming. It just seems to me that messages that would put people in a fear-based state is just a further attempt to control us. So I have questions about this on the validity of where this information is coming from. Not saying that I don't believe the Ponti are real, but what if that somehow could have been intercepted or a message gets through to Sue or yourself that may not be them? Do you have a way to vet that?
What, that the Ponti are lying to us?
No, that it would be potentially the CIA would be posing as the Ponti, giving messages, promoting, messages of fear whenever it may be not actually them. Because we've heard that happen. People say the Federation's been compromised and stuff like that. I'm just genuinely asking if you have a vetting process whenever you're talking to the Ponti. How do you know for sure that it's them?
Well, I trust Sue, and I trust the information that she's been getting from the Ponti. And the Ponti they've not lied to us once. They've been very straightforward. They don't fib or say things that are misconstrued. And they've been giving the same information, all this time. So I believe what they've told the Ponti or what they've told Sue. I
Yeah,
believe it.
and I'm just asking because I mean, I know other people. I know for a fact other people are going to have the same questions because of we've all been misled and lied to and deceived by numerous groups before. So it's just people will want to know, how that vetting process occurs and stuff. So, and not saying that the Ponti are lying. I'm just, asking how that looks for you guys whenever you do receive messages.
Well, we also get corroboration from other experiencers, and we cross reference our own experiences. So have you guys interviewed Jeff Silver?
No.
Yeah.
You'll want to interview him, because he wrote a book, basically about a new city that'll be built, in the future, that will be humans and extraterrestrials living together. But I found interesting, which I just found out, is the location of where this city will be, and it's actually in the location of the only area on the United States that will not be underwater after the planet tilts.
Where
So,
is that in the Southwest region or where do you know where that's
yeah,
at?
like New Mexico, Colorado region.
Right. Yeah, I've seen those maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just hope that before there's a massive warning before this happens so people are able to relocate or however that works.
Well, I've seen the demos of what they did, like taking Ben Davidson's information and putting it into somebody did a planetary thing, and it took a long time to get it done. And I saw what it looks like when the Earth does tilt over. So basically, the Earth is going to tilt 90 degrees. So just if you can, shit, if you can imagine, okay, so planet Earth, and you can imagine North America and South America. The planet, you have to understand that the planet Earth is not completely round. It bulges out at the equator because it's spinning, and water bulges out. Okay. In fact, what I understand he said is that it bulges out about 21 miles. So, what happens when you've got the planet and you got North America here and South America here, and then you turn it 90 degrees? What happens to the water? Where is it going to go? That's the new equator. And that's why the majority of Canada and the US is completely underwater. And the same with Europe. Europe is underwater. It's all underwater. And yeah.
So it sounds like higher ground, the higher elevation you go, the better.
The elevation, yeah. In the Colorado, New Mexico, and just kind of north of that area, United States. So the West Coast is underwater, the East Coast is underwater, and pretty much all of Canada is underwater.
I would be underwater right now.
I would too. I will be too. Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler's in Sedona. You might be safe. You might be safe in Sedona there.
Might be safe in Sedona. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are currently in the phase of introductions. Okay, I think I did that one already. Yeah. We can bring you great life experiences than you can possibly imagine. We've been exploring this galaxy for the 16 million years. So basically what they're saying here is that our future is Star Trek, that we will be traveling stars and exploring galaxies with them and other star nations who are waiting for us to grow up a little bit more. And if we can get to that point and join the Galactic Federation, our future is Star Trek. We are not here to stop Earth's military conflicts with each other. Learning how to get along and live together in peace is a hallmark of a world ready for contact, not the other way around, Grayson. You cannot be a telepathic nation and ignore love, because unconditional love is one of the energies that binds us all together. It is part of the very fabric of the collective consciousness. It is more than a chemical reaction or feeling. Love is our way of being. Judy. According to our sources, the moon was brought here for ocean and planet stabilization. The need was recognized and addressed after the cataclysm and extinction level event that affected the reptarian population here.
That's interesting. And just to clarify, reptarian means the reptilians that were local, native to the planet.
Exactly. Bingo.
Yeah.
Check out the brain on Brad.
Mm-hmm.
The metric system. Oh, I was here when this happened. It's because Sue and I we were sitting in the and she turned to the mountain to ask them what they were doing. Once when we asked the mountain information station desk if they were busy, the response that came back was, "Shit, no, we're over here twiddling our non-existent thumbs."
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious.
It was so funny. Regarding nuclear tensions, we have crews in low orbit watching, preparing to intervene if necessary. Yes, extraterrestrials have stopped nuclear disasters from happening several times on this planet.
Yeah, I believe that.
Well, I know that for a fact.
Your nuclear weapons are being rendered ineffective when telepathically it is clear that Kiwa, Earth humans, decision is made to utilize these devices. The Federation cannot allow. Remember, close to 75% of Earth's visitors come because of your ocean's inhabitants, not because they want to interact with you. You have not yet reached advanced civilization level 0. Many of your ocean's native sentient nations have. One of the biggest perks of being stationed at the station at Sandia Mountain Information Station here in the North America is the pizza. It's all about the cheese pull, don't you know?
Mhm.
One long cycle of dramatic planetary changes has come around again by our calculations. You're going to need a little outside assistance. The trainees, Sandia Mountain Information Station. We seek right-minded Kiwa Earth humans who have put down their fears. We are selective about those who have reached a level of emotional maturity and honesty. We are aware that we face a bit of a PR problem approaching OFC grazing. Qualities of Earth humans who are ready for contact: honesty, studies the Telepathy 101 primer, has put aside their fears, desires to make new friends, humble, ready to learn, open to sharing culture and humor. Grayson. Our goal, which is also the Federation's goal, is the attempt to help you save the best of your many Earth's cultures if relocation to another world is necessary. We can help you speak with the Federation about this matter. It is not a small request. Newell. Regarding our ships, we specifically invite the souls of former incarnation was as a trained amorphic deep ocean aquatic explorer, or a soul who's previously had experience joining with a vessel and working with a crew. Those who wish to continue exploring new worlds are selected, PETA. Yes, their ships have consciousness. Your magnetosphere's weakening will continue to nosedive fast. We estimate it to be just to begin to bottom out between 2035 and 2050. Once your magnetic shield goes, Earth is susceptible to a sudden physical tilt and rewriting, followed by mile-high slosh tsunamis. Just shoot hoops with your telepathic basketball when you, the telepathic sender, add the tunnel from you to the hoop, your telepathic receiver. You suddenly have a tool that helps your telepathic sending score every time. Telepathy doesn't have a speed. It doesn't need one because it doesn't go anywhere. It's already there. This is mind-blowing to me. This explains why they can communicate to their planet, which is 40 light years away, in real time. Telepathy does not travel the speed of light. It doesn't go anywhere. It's already there. That just completely just blows my mind.
Yeah, just reading a book from George Van Tassel where he was channeling some ETs in the 50s, and they said light doesn't travel, it just is. So essentially they're not traveling in the sense that we understand they're traveling.
Yeah. Our staff have begun the rotating shifts so that everyone here can celebrate our yearly thank you ceremony. Once a year, we take 4 days to pray nothing but thank you for everything we can think of. During this time, we sip soup, symbolizing the collective consciousness. Tilcom. Other types of humans in this galaxy are numerous, and there are more than 100,000 variations. The term human is not related to reproductive compatibility. The human body type has also been found in many other galaxies, but we do not know about all of them. Kit. We are not so different. There you go. That's the end of the presentation.
Yeah, very interesting stuff.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about this event. I just have to question whenever I hear narratives like that. It's just because I don't know. It just seems like, it's almost like it appeals to people that are still in like a savior complex mentality. Like, don't worry, we'll save you. And I don't know if in my mind, that's not necessarily the way it's going to go down, but I also know that I don't know. So you could be 100% right. And it's just a reservation within me that makes me question it, that I have to sit with. But I appreciate you sharing all that. And I don't disagree. And I'm not saying they're lying. And I do think that some sort of cycle is inevitable. as far as presenting messages to humanity that, oh, you're all going to be underwater. That puts people in a state of fear. And the next slide is talking about love. So it's hard to decipher the truth whenever you're going from love to fear to love to fear from slide to slide. So to me, it's hard to really determine whether or not it's just interesting to me the way it's presented, and I don't know how to feel about it. And I'm just being honest.
Well, the thing is that, these what's happening with the planet is out of our control, but this is also the reason why they are trying to have official first contact, because we are going to need help. And it's not the first time that star nations have gotten involved during these cataclysms where they have relocated people. The Zuni and Hopi, it's in their history
Yeah,
about
it
them
is.
being moved underground with the ant people to live underground.
It's true.
And Clifford has talked about it as well, where they have relocated people to safer areas above ground and even built homes for them. Um, there's a potential to relocate certain people off planet who are ready for that, who are of a high enough consciousness to be able to integrate with star nations. So, and I think only about 10% of the population is probably ready for that. So it depends on which level that you're at, of where you'll end up being,
Hmm.
you know, but the sooner that we can actually address these problems, the better. Because if we wait until, if the government keeps in control and keeps things back, and then the cataclysm happens, what's going to happen then? They're only going to be able to rescue so many people before things can happen.
Right.
So it's a catch-22. It needs to be addressed. OFC needs to happen sooner than later, so that we can save our species.
Because if it is a real event that is, expected to occur, or that is a high possibility of occurring, then it's real. It's not really. Then it's just about the way you go about sharing that, and not being super alarmist where you're working everyone up into a frenzy about it and doing it in an unhealthy way, but you know, able to present the data, present the very real warning of it without getting too much in the fear energy, too much in the panic energy. And I think that's probably why they haven't, because if you've noticed, most people, like I said, have no idea about this. And granted, that's also because our governments and the elite don't, like you said, they do want the depopulation to happen for nefarious purposes, of course.
Right.
But the benevolent ETs also don't want to stir us into a panic and then to fear as well. So the big conundrum, or the big dilemma or thing to figure out, is how do we tell and warn the people about this and inform them about this, but do it in a way that is beneficial and doesn't stir everyone into a panic and cause more damage and
That's great.
get everyone in fear, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming
Great.
that's a big thing they're trying to work out.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why they've had to do things the way they have, as slowly as they can, which jeopardizes the mission. But they don't want to have cataclysmic disclosure where everybody panics.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a Occam's razor. It really is.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't want you to think I was being disrespectful by questioning that or challenging that. I'm just genuinely
Oh, that's a
curious.
good question.
Yeah, and I'm humble enough to, self-correct, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And like I said, I know that I don't know. And just because I maybe don't believe something is going to happen, that doesn't mean I'm right. So I just like to be vocal about that because I know that other people are going to have similar thoughts. And what Aaron just kind of described, and it helped me actually see it understand it a little better. And by mentioning how the Hopi had been rescued and helped, assisted underground for the last cataclysm. So, I hadn't considered that it's happened before.
Well,
So,
the Atlantis
yeah,
cataclysm, where we hear
right,
about, oh yeah, these groups went underground and they've been living underground since,
right,
Yeah.
maybe
right.
they'll
So
be.
I guess it's just something that I should sit with more and consider as a possibility as opposed to no, I don't believe that's going to happen. Because I don't know, and what if I'm wrong? So I appreciate you sharing everything, and it's absolutely fascinating everything that you've brought to the table today, and thank you for
Thank
putting
you.
all that together. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any final words that you'd like to leave us with before we wrap this up?
Yeah. Be excellent to each other.
Nice.
Yes.
Right. Well, no,
Totally.
I mean, I do like their messages of love and understanding, how crucial that is. That's important.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, there's a
Right.
lot of wisdom there for sure.
So I guess let our audience know one more time the social media accounts, even your own. I know you're a musician. You have a band, Pyramids on Mars. You want to tell everybody about what you have going on and where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, my band Pyramids on Mars is instrumental rock, but but a lot of the things that I do in my music are actually teachings from the Ponti, which are incorporated into my music. Telepathic storytelling, tonal language, it's all integrated, what the Ponti have taught me, and so I've learned from them, and I've incorporated those elements into my music. So my music is quite unique. I don't think I'll ever become a very world famous musician. That's not my purpose here in my life. My music will be discovered later on when they understand what it was that I'm doing, and that I had ET teachers for it. But my website's pyramidsonmars.com. I'm also the host of Pyramids on Mars UFO Radio on the Artist First Network. So if you go to artistfirst.com and you'll see a picture of me and click on there, and there's we just had our 10th year anniversary this year. So so there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, and we'll put that in the description.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And where can people listen to your music? Just on the website, or is it
The
available?
website will have links to it'll take you to Bandcamp where you can listen to the albums. You can also find me like on Spotify and anywhere else that you listen to music online. Just look up Pyramids on Mars, you'll find my music there.
I'll have
And
to check it out. Awesome.
you have an X account just under your name, Kevin Estrella, and then
Yeah, Pyramids on Mars _
okay, Pyramids on Mars, and then Sandia Wisdom is, I guess, Sue Walker
That's right.
sharing information on behalf of the Ponti.
Mhm.
So get on X, guys, and go follow those pages. And I do want to mention also that after we interviewed Sue the first time, or maybe it was the first time after I watched one of her interviews. It's been so long now, I don't remember. I've had the Ponti come to me twice in the dream state, and it felt very real to the point where I don't question whether or not it was them. I don't remember much of the encounter, but they did come to me, and I was
They do.
actually at one point I Sue gave me the primer, and I was, reading through that and kind of working with that. So I think maybe they showed up because of that. It's been a long
Yeah.
time since I've actually tried to reestablish or had any experiences with them. So it is possible, and I do believe that I'm not like trying to discount anything they said. I was just questioning the vetting process earlier, but I want to clarify that I do understand that they're very real, and I don't doubt their existence or the messages.
Mhm.
As far as
There is so much there is, so many agendas and disinformation out there, and like it's good to just in a healthy way question everything, right? In a
Yeah.
healthy way.
Yeah.
So
I just
yeah,
want, I wanted to give a presentation so you get an idea of who they are as people. I
mhm,
mean,
yeah.
that's only touching the big, just touching the surface of how many meanings we've created. I've created like almost 300 of them from
wow,
stuff that they told us.
right.
So,
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and also, we're both going to be speaking in Aztec, New Mexico,
Chaco
September.
Canyon.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's actually moved from Chaco Canyon. It's not in Chaco Canyon anymore.
Oh, I
Um,
thought we were going to be doing day excursions.
well, day
Well, you'll
excursions.
be going to Chaco,
Yeah,
right?
we'll
Yeah.
be going there, but the actual conference is at the Tico Time
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
in Aztec, New Mexico, September 21st through the 24th. And if you guys are interested, I'll be presenting. So will Kevin, and I think Brad Olson will be there. Laura Eisenhower, Lily Nova, Issa, the Chinos. I forgot the whole lineup, but it's going to be fun. It was a lot of fun last year when we were in Chaco Canyon, and that whole
Sure was.
windstorm blew us away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So if anyone's interested, I think it's quantumdisclosureproject.com. You can purchase tickets and come hang out with us in September in Aztec, New Mexico. And thank you for joining us today, Kevin. Fascinating stuff.
Fascinating. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yep. Yeah, but we appreciate everything you're doing. And by the way, I was going to ask you or have you clarify this. The artwork behind you, that's Sue's artwork, correct?
That's all Sue's artwork. That's right.
Okay, so she's the one who is drawing them. And she also is also something we didn't get into. You mentioned briefly, she communicates and draws a Sasquatch as well.
That's
So
right.
that's a whole other side of this that we didn't get into today. But have you ever had any communication with them yourself?
Absolutely. With the Sasquatch. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I had one showed up in my apartment in interdimensional form and actually wrapped his arm around my back and gave me a hug and grunted like, "Rrr, rrr," my whole body just vibrated. I got a hug from the Sasquatch. I think that's because on my show, I have a lot of people like, Sunbow, who speaks, Mike Patterson from Sasquatch, Ontario, Garrett Duncan. I have all them. So I'm really helping educating people about the Sasquatch people. And I know that they're very happy with me with that. Also, when I visited Sue several times in New Mexico, I was told that I was picked up and I was taken by the Ponti, and I've been witness to stomping growls with the Sasquatch. So they've taken me to some of their ceremonies. I just don't remember it.
Wow. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, the Sasquatch here in the Sedona area, I've had a number of experiences since I've been here. They want to talk. They're ready for this open contact just like everyone else is. So
yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up. We appreciate your time and putting this together and sharing this message with everybody. And thank you guys all for being here. Go check out the website, Quantum Disclosure Project, if you're interested in joining the conference in Aztec, New Mexico. And Awake Within the Dream Productions.com if you would like to more information about the Mount Shasta conference coming up July 16th through the 20th. So go check that out. Those links will be below in the description. We love you. Thank you for being here. Have a great evening. Until next time.